And here we go. This video has already gone up once before, but I made the error of recording with no sound. So, welcome everyone. This is Bendigo Open round one recap. I got to play Chaos Space Marines, which I thought would be entertaining. A mate of mine plays them in my casual games. And the guy I was playing is one of the regulars, one of the local boys. And as from memory, a subscriber to the channel because we support each other that way. So big shout out to Ryan. Hopefully now everyone can hear me yammering on and talking about what I talked about the first time when I didn't have the mic set up correctly. It was not switched on, so all of the sound did not record, which is a little bit painful because this video went up probably 4 weeks ago. And now I'm going to have to pull it down and replace it with this one. So the original went up 4 weeks ago. This will go up in the next, will have gone up at midnight on, well, 0001 a.m. on the 14th of the 10th, 25. And yes, it is quite late in terms of fixing it. I didn't realize until I went to do one of the other videos that I posted last night or this morning that I scheduled and found that I had not been recording audio. So let's jump into it. As you can see, there has been a change to the list. Every video I have gone through it, and the very first video I went in depth into it around the choices I made and why. Farsight with fire knives for the plasma, as he has a plasma, giving them rerolls and +1 to wound and +1 to hit from stealth suits, making them pretty gnarly. That ability to reroll wound and damage rolls. So just wound rolls on anything that's on an objective. If it's starting strength, you get to reroll full rerolls. If it's half strength, you get +1 to wound. Yeah, did a little bit of work. Then the ability for Farsight to chop at shit with his two sweep and strike profiles on his sword. Look, all in all, overall, I'm not really sure how I felt with the Farsight, whether it was worth having him. I thought it was entertaining. But yeah, really, I'm not 100% sure now, thinking back about how the whole weekend went with whether or not this list is any better than a 2-3. I do know that it probably is, considering I misscored a game which is the game I posted this morning. I massively misscored in that one, so that game was a lot closer than originally entered on the system. So, had some stuff gone differently in this game as well as that game, then yeah, maybe this army is that 3-2, luckily be pushing shit up a hill, but a 4-1 army. But I'm going to say, look, 2-2-1, 2 wins, 2 losses, a draw is probably about the midpoint for what this army can do. I definitely need to learn to pilot it better. And the points increases or decreases for Tau will give me the access to another unit of Vespered Stingwings, which will be super helpful because the uppy downy is great and they are pretty dangerous with -2 AP and 2 damage on their weapons. So, hitting on 4s with that ability, if you have the stealth suits giving +1 to hit with your rerolls, like rerolling to hit wounding on freeze because their weapon is Their weapon is 1 second while I double check either strength 5 or strength 6. It's definitely more potent than I had anticipated. I didn't realize how tough it was, and it definitely comes to the fore in a later game. In game 5, it really did punch above its weight in terms of how strong it was. It's strength 5. So they're strength 5, 2 attacks, 8-inch range with the extra 6. We're looking at 24-inch range, 2 attacks. Neg 2 damage too, so yeah, quite gnarly. And definitely did a huge amount of damage for me. Yeah, nearly killed a character in one round of shooting. He saved well, that was lucky. Anyway, let's me open up and be able to talk through the game, and we'll jump into the next slide. As you can see, I've spoken about the list as it goes through. The Cold Stars definitely one with when I get to my brain functions around it, the air fragmentation burst grenade, air burst fragmentation grenade. Sorry, with that attack, the enhancement for that, making it quite gnarly. But yeah, in general, from previous the list that I test played wasn't the greatest. Jumped into this, changed the star size from, they were, when I brought them secondhand, they have one flamer, one burst cannon. Advised the organisers I was running 2 flamers. Advised all my opponents it was 2 flamers. And look, they did their job with hordes and small infantry, which is what I needed, which is where I felt I was lacking the most. And they really held up their end of the bargain. So let's jump into pre-game. Obviously, we played pre-game, as you can see there on the screen, Purge the Foe, Hammer and Anvil. Opponent was Defender, and I went first, which is not what I wanted. Round 1, I played KG. Definitely changed from my previous games, practice games, of having so much in Deep Strike. My Deep Strike units for the entire for the entire weekend was Farsight and the Fire Knives, and then the 2 Cold Star Commanders with the Sunforge, a 3-man squad of Sunforges each. So yeah, I felt confident in where I deployed. Hid my stealth suits as they can advance and observe because they've got the marker light keyword. Yeah, just did what I could do to make things the best of what it was, while also just trying to survive. As you can see, T1 drew rather well for me. I actually went okay. And funnily enough, I outscored my opponent in the first round, which Ryan and I had a good laugh about. I will also say that I don't know if I noted it further in the slides, which I think I do, but the boys at Half Out Inch Gaming give us random things to do, little side quests, funny shit, just to make the weekend funnier. We had a bingo card, and so Ryan and I spent the majority of our game laughing about the entertainment that we got from doing the bingo card, which the prize is just a free soft drink or a free drink, depending on what you wanted. But yeah, which is a little bit of fun, entertainment, kind of breaks the ice for the guys, but we knew each other, which made it a little better. But also it did help in the future games with that breaking of the ice and having people to laugh about. I intentionally sacked a unit. I scored nothing on Purge the Folks. I went first. Ryan got the 4 points for killing a unit. I did give something up so that I could score a tempting target and extend battle lines. The first turn moved pretty quickly and pretty smoothly. I lost my Piranha, was the unit I gave up. Ryan sacked Sabotage for the extra CP. But yeah, that was the first round, first turn. T2, Ryan outscored me on primary. He managed to score 12. He also scored all of his, almost all of his secondaries with Area Denial, Overwhelming Force. I got Storm Hostile and Sabotage. I sacked Sabotage for a CP. So, not the greatest. Obviously, scores now swung. So 17-26 where I was up, but look, not being able to get secondaries I could score, I probably should have traded. Maybe I had CP to burn as I was playing KG still, just trying to protect myself. I let him come into my kill zones, thinking I would be able to get rid of a lot of stuff later, like score a lot later on, but it didn't quite happen. But yeah, I can't complain. Again, Ryan and I have good games. It's always fun, entertaining, and there's a lot of yap going on. So T3, I got the challenger card and I scored another 8 points. I drew assassination and held on to storm hostile objective for one more turn. I got assassination, which gave me 5. Again, Ryan scored 12 on primary, which pushes the score out a little bit further. But given the fact I got the challenger card and my assassination, I was able to gain a slight clawback some points. As you can see there, I've got on screen 32-40. Ryan only got the small marked for death. So scoring 16 versus 14 means I clawed 2 points back and still holding on to Storm Hostile into T4. But yeah, again, hilarious game. We had a lot of laughs. There was no frustration. We both have played each other a few times, and the banter that goes around with the local boys is really good and really fun when you play each other, and neither of us were super stressed. So we get into T4, and I can see that I was still holding on to, I click the slide over, Storm Hostile. I think I could have scored it in this round, but I didn't. I held on to it in T5 and scored it then. I got established locusts and look, couldn't score that. I'd spent 4 CP this turn as I had like almost like 6. I got another 8 on primary. Ryan crept away now because while I restricted him to 8 on primary, he's out. He scored secure no man's land and tempting target, so he got the 10 there. As you can see, it's 43-58 going into T5. And again, when we jump into T5, I had another challenger card, but I also just went bananas in scoring. I got 12 on primary and then scored Skewer No Man's Land and Storm Hostile because I'd done enough damage to delete some stuff. Ryan cleansed and managed to kill a character, giving him 10. The extra couple of points, I think, because we were even on primary, I clawed back 2 points, and then obviously paint scores are applied to the end. So, I think, I did really, really well. I was possibly a little bit overconfident with how I was going to go, but Ryan's a really, really good player. We were both pretty happy and had a good laugh at the end of the game, and there was a lot of pat on the back and just well played, and there was nothing I could really be frustrated about. As I said, really, this is my first tournament playing Tau, and if you jump in there, you can see the scores at the end there where I probably held on to secure Storm Hostile objective for way too long. I could have sacked it for something else. At least like Ryan got rid of behind enemy lines in or Storm Hostile in turn 3, and use a CP to get back another secondary. And you can see that's the difference really there is the 12 points in primary. I know that I scored 9 from the challenger card, which then pushes me up to 32 on my secondary, which means our secondaries broke even. Had I been able to get rid of Storm Hostile earlier, or even in if I scored it in T3 rather than T5, I could have maybe picked up an extra, and maybe that scoreline might have been 80 to 90 or 81 to 90. Like, the game went okay, and then Tyrannid was my next game. I forgot I can reroll wounds and damage rolls on my Sun Forges versus monsters of vehicles, and that made a difference because I probably would have killed a few of Ryan's monsters and vehicles quicker. And it definitely makes a difference in the next game because I completely blanked that rule and didn't use it to the best of my advantage in getting extra wounds done on vehicles, which when my Tyranid game goes back up again and I talk about it, it was a really flat, low game. And yeah, it kind of threw my weekend off for a little bit. But it was, as I said, good fun game. Rolls were not the best. Um, I just didn't score well in primary, and that was, Ryan was very aggressive, and I knew he would be. And that's why I castled for a fair bit. And he also told me that, at the end of the game, he expected that I would castle, and he knew he was going to be aggressive, and he thought I might play into that aggression and try and match it. And he was, very, very good about the fact that he patted me, gave me a bit of a pat on the back and said, that not falling for his trap was quite well done. But yeah, first game out of the way, lots of laughs, and peace out. And now this is going to be a fixed update, so it'll go up and it'll have at least audio. So for those of you that watched it, I'm sorry you had to sit there for 15 or 16 minutes and not hear a single sound, but just watch the screen click through and read. Now that the audio is good, because I'm not using the microphone that I had on charge because it was actually flat also as well as being switched off. Yeah, my laptop is taking on the audio. So that's all from me, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.